we have maps. So the first question type is process charts. The second one is called maps. They will give you two maps, and then you're going to be you'll be expected to write a report based on the two maps. Okay. So we have, let me write the stuffs on top of this picture here. Process charts. Then we have maps. We have line graphs. We have bar charts. We have pie charts. We have tables. And we have combination charts. These are the 7 types of questions that can show up. Any of these 7 can show up in your exam. Any of the 7 can show up in your exam. So you need to be prepared to handle any of them. Okay? My focus today will be on these last 5: line graphs, bar charts, pie charts, tables, and combination charts. That's what I want to focus during the course of this class. Okay? Now, the second thing I want to talk about is, what are the 3 parts of a good report? A good report should have an introduction, a good report should have an overview, and a good report should have a what? A main body. So the introduction can be 1 sentence or 2 sentences. Okay? The introduction can be what? Can be 1 sentence or what? Or 2 sentences. Okay? Or 2 sentences. I'm trying to use this thing like chalk or marker. 2 sentences. Then the overview too can be 1 sentences or what? The overview can be 1 sentence or it can be 2 sentences. That's another, that's the second part of your report. Now, depending on the question, you can merge your introduction and your overview to form 1 paragraph. Or you can decide to separate the 2 parts. You can decide to write introduction in 1 paragraph and then write overview as what? Another paragraph. Okay, so introduction is the first part of your report. You must be able to do that very well. Overview is the second part of your report. You must be able to do that very well. And then the main body is the third part of your report. Now, this main body usually should have 2 paragraphs. It's either you have 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs. Okay, 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs, especially if you are dealing with line graphs, bar charts, pie charts, table, or combination charts. If it's a process chart, you can write a main body that has just 1 paragraph. Okay? But if it's a map or line graph or bar chart or pie chart or table or combination chart, then you should do 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs for the word, for the main body of your word, of your report. Okay? Now, your reports will contain different sentences. A good report should contain a total of a minimum of 150 words. That is the word limit. That is the instruction. You are going to see the instruction on the question paper. They will say, write no less than 150 words. Or they will say, write at least 150 words. So your report should not be less than 150 words. Okay? You should write a report that contains 150 words, 160 words, or 170 words, or 180 words, or 200 words. It can be more than 150 words. Okay? It's very, very important. So if you are writing your report, you know that your report should contain sentences. Okay? A good report should be made up of what? Of sentences. Inside my introduction, I said earlier on that there should be 1 sentence or 2 sentences. Overview too should contain 1 sentence or 2 sentences. The main body should contain maybe 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs. Each paragraph should contain 3 or 4 sentences. 3 or 4 sentences in the main body. Okay? Now, the sentences inside the main body of your report are designed to perform different roles. Okay? They are designed to perform different roles. Or let's put it this way. The sentences in your report, they perform different roles. Some sentences introduce the report. So for example, when I start writing my report now, the first thing I want to write is what? The introduction. It's going to introduce the report. Let me show you what I mean. Look at this question here. Look at this question here. This is a line graph question. Okay? The question says what? The graph below shows China's population by age group starting in 1960 and including a forecast to 2050. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparison relevant. Can you see what I said earlier on? Write at least 150 words. So the first thing I want to write here is what? The introduction. And in writing my introduction, you are going to paraphrase the question prompt. This thing at the top here, you paraphrase the question prompt, okay? And then you highlight the categories. There are 3 categories here. Category 1 is what? 0 to 14 years. Category, we can see it at the bottom. Category 1 is what? 0 to 14 years. 0 to 14 years. You can see it here. That's category 1. Then category 2 is what? Category 2 is 15 to 64 years. 15 to what? To 64 years. You can see it at the bottom here. If this stuff is too tiny and you are not seeing it, just double tap on your screen so that it becomes bigger on your own screen. Double tap on your phone. In case you are using your phone, just double tap on it and then it's going to become bigger. So 0 to 14 years is category 1. 15 to 64 years is category 2. Then 65 plus, that's the elderly people. That's category 3. So you highlight the categories in your introduction. And that's what you see that I wrote here, that word. Some sentences, they highlight the categories. So these first 2 are usually seen in the word, in the introduction. So if I want to write an introduction for this report now, this is what I'm going to write. I will say that word, the line graph illustrates. Instead of writing shows, I'm going to paraphrase shows and I will say illustrates. Okay? The population of China by age group. Okay? Beginning from 1960 till today, with forecasts until what? 2050. See my paraphrase. This is my paraphrase of the question prompt. I have paraphrased everything that they wrote here. That's what I've done here. But I changed some words and I did some rearrangements. Okay? So that is the first part of my word, the first part of my introduction. What is the second part of my introduction? The second part is the part where I highlight the categories. So I'm going to write that as sentence 2. The age group, so I'm going to call it age groups because they called it age groups here on the chart. Look at it at the bottom here. You can see age groups at the bottom. So I'll say that word. The age groups are as follows: 0 to 14 years, 15 to 64 years, and 65 plus years. That's all. Okay? I've mentioned the word, the categories. Okay? I've mentioned the categories. So this is my word, my introduction. Okay? My introduction. Now, there's a third thing to add. That's what we call units. Okay? And I'll say that word. I can say, some people will write that the unit of measurement is percentage. But me, I don't like using that kind of construction. I prefer to say the information is given in what? Percentages. That's one way to say it. Another way to say it is what? Is that what? The proportion, the population of the country by age group is represented in percentages. Okay? This thing I wrote here now. This part that I wrote here now, I picked it from the title of the chart. Look at it here. China's population by age group. China's population by age group. So I just said that word. The population of the country by age group is represented in what? Percentages. That's it. So this is my word, my introduction. And in this introduction, you can see that word. I have highlighted all the different type. I mean, the three, I've highlighted two types of sentences. Where is it now? This thing here. Introduce. I have two sentences one sentence at the beginning that introduces the report. Okay. I have a sentence that introduces the report. And then I have a sentence that highlights the category. The age groups are as follows. We should see these are the types of sentences that we should see. These are the things that sentences should do in your report. Very, very important. Very, very important. Hope you get my point. So just to be sure that you guys understand what I have done for this number one and number two, let me give you one exercise to do. Let me give you one exercise to do. I'm going to give you one question now, and then your job will be to write, what's it called? To write introduction. You write introduction for the question. Okay? So here we have a question, everybody. So I want you guys to try and write an introduction for this question. Okay? I'll give you 3 minutes. 3 minutes. I want you to write an introduction for this question here. Just type your, what's it called? Your answer inside the Zoom chat. Okay? Type your answer inside the Zoom chat, and then I'm going to look at it, and then I'm going to make corrections. Okay? I'm waiting. Who has finished? If you have finished, let me see your hand. Or let me see your response in the Zoom chat if you have finished. If you are finished, just drop your response in the Zoom chat. Introduction. That's what we are doing now. That's what I want you to write. Introduction. Make sure that your introduction that you're writing has, I don't want a one sentence introduction. Some people like writing one sentence introduction. Please, I don't want one sentence introduction. No. Avoid one sentence introduction in this exercise that I'm giving you. I don't want one sentence introduction. So any response? Who is writing? Who is still writing? Who has finished writing? Are you guys doing the exercise? All right, let me post my answer. So here, how do I do my introduction here? Same thing I did earlier on. Okay, so this is a bar chart. So I'll say that word. The bar chart. Okay, let me see. Somebody has written something. Let me check. Let me check what someone has written. Okay, thank you very much. I've seen 2 responses. Let me post what they wrote. So the first person said, this is what the first person wrote. And then the second person. So let me just make corrections based on those two things, and then we'll move on to other things. So this is the first person, and then this is the second person. So look at it. The bar chart gives information. Yes, I like that. That's very good. That's a very good paraphrase. The bar chart gives information on the fraction of students. Very good. Fraction. Instead of writing percentages, you can write fraction. There are three paraphrases for percentages. Is either you say percentages or percentage, or you say fraction, or you say proportion. Those are the three that you can use. Don't use amount. Don't use number. Anytime you see that the figure percentage is on the chart, just either use fraction or use proportion or use percentage. Okay? Okay, gives information on the fraction of students from various countries that can speak that's missing here, a foreign language. That can speak a foreign language. Okay? This information is represented in percentages. So this introduction is good, but something is missing. Something is missing in this introduction. This person did not mention the categories. Okay? He did not mention the categories. You should have said that, okay, the students are from 6 countries. You can see that the next person wrote it. Let's look at this second person. The given bar chart should be 2 words, separate. The given bar chart illustrates the students' proportion of those. No. This one should be deleted. Illustrates the proportion of what? The proportion of students. Sorry. Illustrates the proportion of those. No. The proportion of students. Okay? Illustrates the proportion of students that can communicate in a foreign language. In a foreign language should be here. Use of article. You can see that in the question, they wrote a there. That's article. Oh. You can't make mistakes when it comes to the use of articles, though, please. Okay? So that can communicate in a foreign language. It is among the male and female between 6 countries. Okay, so this person is trying to do something here, but this sentence is what IELTS examiners call awkward sentence. Awkward. The sentence will sound awkward. It sounds somehow. Sounds somehow means that the examiner has an idea what you're trying to say, but it's not sounding correct. That's the meaning of awkward. Okay, so how do we correct this? The given bar chart illustrates the proportion of students. Okay, you can't really rearrange that. Proportion of students is proportion of students. Either you say proportion of students, or you say fraction of students, or you say percentage of what? Students. Okay, proportion of students that can communicate in a foreign language. Okay, so this second part that this person is doing here, let's readjust it, and I'm going to put it in brackets so that you see what I'm trying to do. Okay, the students are categorized into male and female. Or let's put it this way: they are categorized as males and what? Females. And they are from China, Romania. So you see, I'm listing the categories, the countries. Romania, Thailand, India, Russia, and what? Vietnam. That's it. That's my addition to make that second part correct. This thing I wrote for this second part too, about the, what's it called? About the male and female and what's it called? The countries. We can also put it inside the first report, the first introduction. That's it. So our introduction must be what? Must be accurate. Our introduction must be what? Must be accurate. Now, let me say something here. You see this thing that the person wrote here? Where is it now? Look at this sentence here. The given pie chart illustrates the student proportion of those that can communicate. Student proportion of those that, you see this sentence here? The reason for this sentence, why it's problematic. A lot of people have this problem when it comes to percentages. Anytime they see percentage figure like this, the sentence that they write will be problematic. And that's one of the major things I want to deal with in this class. How do you construct sentences that reflect accurate interpretation of percentages? That's what I want to deal with. And I want you to follow closely. How do we construct sentences that reflect what? Accurate interpretation of what? Percentages. There are two formulas I'm going to give you. Two formulas. Okay? But before I talk about those two formulas, let me even find out something. Let me ask something, everybody. So I said earlier on that we have different types of charts, line graphs. Now look at these two line graphs. I want to ask you guys a question. Let me see who is following me. Which one of these two line graphs involves percentages? There's one that involves percentages. There's another one that does not involve percentage. Which one involves percentages? Is the one on the right. I think I've already shown you this graph before, so let me not even ask this one. Let me show you another one. Let's go to this one. Let's look at this table. Look at this table here, everybody. Which one of these two tables involve percentages? Who can tell me? Which one of these two tables? Is it the one on the left side or the one on the right side? Which one of these two tables will involve percentages? Will require me to write things like, okay, the percentage is this, the percentage is that, and what have you. Thank you very much. The one on the right. The one on the right. By the way, please, those of you that posted your answer inside the Zoom chat that I did not copy it out, go and post it inside the WhatsApp group. I'm going to comment on it later. So just copy it and post it inside our WhatsApp group so that I will comment on it later. Do you understand? So that we are not going to waste too much time. So the one on the right is the one that has percentages. Very correct. Now, let's go back to what I said earlier on. That word, when it comes to writing our report, we have a sentence. Some sentences are designed to introduce the report. Some sentences are designed to highlight the categories. Some sentences are designed to give overall picture. What is the meaning of give overall picture? Give an overall picture. That's overview. That's your overview. That's your overview sentence. Then some sentences are designed to act as topic sentence. I'm going to show you all these things later on. Some sentences are designed to describe the trend. Some sentences are designed to compare the categories. And then some sentences are designed to quote specific data. Okay? Now, it's possible for a sentence to do, you see this last four. Let me mark them out. This this one, this one, this one, and this one. It's possible for a sentence to do number 1 and number 2. It's possible for a sentence to do number 2 and number 3. It's possible for a sentence to do number 3 and number 4. It's possible for a sentence to do number 2 and number 4. Do you understand? I mean, one sentence can do these roles. You are going to see me when I treat examples very soon. I want you to follow closely. This thing I'm teaching you is extremely important. If you can get a hold of this thing, writing reports will become very easy for you. You'll be able to get 7.5, 8.0, 8.5, 9.0 in your reports. Okay? So, in writing our reports, whenever we see that we have percentage data, there are two formulas that you must learn to use. The first formula is what I call the easy formula. Easy. Or we can call it the basic formula. The easy formula or the basic formula, some people call it the accounted formula, or we can also call it the XYZ formula. XYZ or XYZ formula. Okay, that's the first formula I'm going to talk about. And then the second formula, this one is not commonly used. There is a certain condition for you to use this second formula. I call it the spent formula. Anytime you see that on your chart, they are spending money, then that's when you use this formula. If you see that on the chart, on the line graph, the bar chart, the table, the report, I mean the pie chart, You see that money is being spent. You look at the line graph, you see that, okay, this thing is about the amount of money spent. You look at the bar chart, you see that this thing is about the amount of money being spent. You look at the, what's it called? Pie chart. You look at the table, you see that it's about the amount of money being spent. Then you are going to use, you should use this formula. This one I call the spent formula. I'm going to talk about it. It's not a common thing because data that involve money doesn't always show up. Sometimes it shows up. So I'm going to treat it. But let's go back to this first one, the easy formula. So what is this thing that we call the easy formula? Look at this first sentence I wrote here. X% of Y are Z. X% of Y was Z. Let me write it out. Let me write it out somewhere. You see this place? Let me write it out here. So this is the formula. Let me write out the formula. X% of Y. So because we have, let me use the date here, 1960. Let's say I want to refer to 1960 now. I will use was, okay? Because if I want to refer to 1960, X% of Y was what? Z. Is it that we write it that way? Or if we are referring to a present date event, like let's say we are in 2025 now, I will say that I want to quote a data for 2025. I will say that what? X% of Y is Z. That's how I would use the formula. The third option is future dates. Okay, X% of Y will be Z. That's future date. For this graph now, we can see we have 2050 there. Will be. Okay. Now, how do I apply this formula to this graph, to this line graph? Look at it, everybody. This formula is generally used whenever you want to quote data. Remember I talked about data quote sentence. Okay? You want to write a data quote sentence. So after quoting the data, you now move to the next level of what? Describing that category. Okay, so look at this chart now. I want to write this report. Earlier on, I wrote the introduction. Let's assume that I've written the overview, and I want to write the main body for this report. In writing the main body for this report, let's say that I decide that, okay, I want to start with this one that is going up. This one that went up and then came down. Okay, so this one that went up and then came down, that is for age group 15 to 64. That's the one that went up and then came down. This 0 to 14, okay? This 0 to 14 is like the darkest one. That is the one that is coming down, 0 to 14. And then this one, 65 plus, that's the one that is going up. So what I want to do now is I want to describe this line graph. So what I usually say is that what? Take a category and describe it all the way till the end before moving to another category. Okay, so you can decide that, okay, you want to start with this dark one, or you want to start with this other one, or you want to start with this one that was the lowest at the beginning. Okay, so to make it orderly, I think I should just start. Let me start with this 0 to 14. Look at what I want to write now. I want to describe the age group 0 to 14 using this my formula as my guide. If you can use this formula to start your main body, it's going to make your work very neat. That's why I'm teaching you this formula. Now look at it, everybody. To start with, X%. Remember what I said, X% of Y. So what is the X% here? For this thing here now, what is 1960 is the year, and I'm focusing on what? For 0 to 14 years. So this is going to be around 30. This is like halfway through. So let's say maybe 35 to 45 to 55. So this is 35. 45 will be somewhere in the middle, then 52.5. So let's say this is about 45. We are not sure of the exact figure. So anytime you're not sure of the exact figure, just say about. So I'll say that I want to start with about, okay? About what? About 45% of what? China's population was, can you see was? Past tense. Aged was, or let's put it as always, was within the age group of what? 0 to 14 years in what? 1960. So to make you see the way I've used the formula. X percent. See the X percent here. The X is 45. Okay? Y represents the complete thing, the whole. I'm going to talk about that later on. And then Z basically refers to the word, to the category. Okay? So to start with, about 45% of China's population was within the age group of 0 to 14 years in 1960. Next sentence, I will now describe the trend. I will now continue to describe the trend. If you look at it closely, some people will look at this now and say the thing increased to 50 something, the thing reduced. So it reduced. They will now begin to mention it one by one, one by one, one by one. No, it's not necessary. Once you see that the thing is continuous all the way till the end, you don't need to mention the thing one by one for everything. You can just pick one. You can pick the one in the middle, like this 2000 now. Or we can just pick today. Let's say we are in 2025 now. So we can pick a figure for 2025. So I will say that word. The figure reduced over the decades. You see, it's decades. Why is it decades? 1960. 10 years later, 1970. 10 years later, 1980. That's decades. Instead of saying years, that's part of vocabulary. The figure reduced over the decades that followed. And today, it is estimated that around, what figure should we pick for today now? This is going to be above 17.5. Let's say maybe 24 or 25. That around 25% of the country's population are aged 0 to what? 14 years. Can you see I'm still using that same formula? 25% of the country's population. That's what I did here again. 45% of China's population are within the age group of what? That's the same thing I did. That's that formula I'm still using. Okay? X percent of Y was what? But you see here now, because I'm referring to today, present tense, I use the word are. A-R-E. That's a plural of is. Okay? Plural because we are referring to population. That's many people. Many people. Then, what's it called now? Forecasts indicates, forecast for the future indicates that the decline will continue. And by 2050, okay, 17.5% of China's population will be within this age group. That's all. Can you see the way I've used that formula? X percent of Y is Z. That's the formula that I've used. I use that formula to quote usually use it, it's best to use it to quote data. And then once you quote it the first time, you now describe what is happening, and then you continue until you get to the end. Okay? That's what we call what? What's it called? The basic formula. Now let me go back to that. Let me go back to that slide where I wrote that stuff. Look at this thing here. What are X, Y, and Z? This is another important question. X refers to the exact percentage figure, 46%, 37.5%, 25%, something percent. So if you are using this formula that I'm talking about here, that figure that you are quoting must be at the beginning. That's the point. It must be at the what? At the beginning. That's how that thing is written. X percent of Y X is always at the beginning. You see, if you remember, look at this stuff I wrote. Let me post it for you again so that you see it. You see that it's always showing up. So it showed up at the beginning. Look at it here now. About 45%. Ignore this part that says to start with. This one is an introductory word. It's just like saying in conclusion. It's just like saying firstly. I mean, it's not, don't consider it. So that percentage figure, X, shows up at the beginning of the sentence. Do you get it? That's how you use that formula. Very, very important. So X represents the word, X represents the percentage figure. Okay? Then Y, what does Y represent? Y represents the complete whole. It could be a country, like in this case now, a country. X% of China's population. 15% of China's population. Look at it. Look at this one here. 17.5% of what? Of China's population. I did not say 17.5% of 0 to 14 years. That's the mistake some people make. The Y is wrong. That 0 to 14 years is actually representing what? Z. Look at it, Z here. The definition of the part. In other words, so this is the idea. Let me tell you what I mean by what? Whole and parts. Whole and parts. That's what I want to explain now. The meaning of complete whole and the meaning of parts. Let me show you what I mean by that. Let's use this our China as illustration. So in China, I'm trying to draw. Let me draw a circle. So this is China. This circle represents China. Inside China, we have some people are what? 0 to what? To 14 years. Some people are 0 to 14 years. And then some people are what? 15 to what? To 64 years. And then in that same China, some people are what? Above 65. They are 65 years and above. 65 years and above. Okay? So 0 to 14, people that are aged 0 to 14, they are part of China's population. Part of, can you see where I came up with that word? Part for Z. 0 to 14 years, they are part of China's population. 15 to 64 years, they are part of China's population. 65 and above, they are what? Part of China's population. So when we look at that formula, X, Y, Z, what we are saying is that word, that Z represents the parts. Okay? Y represents the word, the whole. Look at it here again. Y represents the complete whole. In this example now, that's China. Z represents the word, the parts. Let's look at another example. I'm going to use many examples so that you get this thing. Look at this example here now of this bar chart. Which one is the whole and which one is the parts? Look at it. So for this one, we have different countries. We have China, we have Romania, we have Thailand, we have India, we have Russia, we have Vietnam. Okay, so let's start with China. For China, what represents the whole, the complete thing? Okay, there are two genders. Remember that there are two genders here, male and female. So for the blue box, Chinese students that are male, that is the whole. Male Chinese students. Okay? That is the whole, the complete thing. That is the Y. Okay? Then for the green one, that's the female. Chinese or female Chinese students. So if I want to use the XYZ formula for this China now, I want you to follow closely because I will give you classwork very soon. We are going to do the one for India. I'm going to do China. I'll do Romania. I will do Thailand. Then you do China. So you guys should follow me closely. So if I want to write the data code for China, now what I'm going to write is what? I will say that word. Let me write it out for you. I think there should be, this chart should be somewhere else. Yeah, it's here. So if I want to write for China, now what I would say is that what about, this is around 15, 16, 17, about 17%. Remember the formula again. X% of Y is Z. That's the formula. Okay, so about 17% of male students from China. Another person can decide to say about 70% of male Chinese students. Notice that I did not say that 70% of China's population. There's nothing on this chart that says China's population. There's nothing on this chart that says population of China. What we have is what? Students from different countries. So it should be what? Students from China. And they already put it in male and female. So it's going to be what? 17% of male students from China are what? Proficient in a what? Foreign language. That's for the blue box. For the blue bar, sorry. For the green bar, I will say that what? About what? 20. So this is going to be 28 plus 3. That's about 31. About 31% of what? Female students from China can what? Speak a what? Foreign language. Can you see that? I'm using that XYZ formula. The basic XYZ formula. That's what I'm using, ladies and gentlemen. About what? About X% of Y is Z. Somebody says, but you do not write is in this one. You do not write is. You don't need to, that formula, the only part of that formula that is rigid is the X, the Y, and the Z. The other things can be flexible. In this case now, there's no way you write is or A-R-E, ha. It's going to be hard. Just say that word. Look at what they wrote here. Able to speak. So you study that thing and you use that to construct your sentences. 17% of male students from China are able to speak a foreign language. Okay, I'm even thinking of something now. It's actually possible to use is or are. I can say that word. About 17% of male students from China are, can you see? A-R-E. Okay? Are proficient. But in the second one, I did not use the word ARE. But you see, I used it here. Are proficient. Somebody says, can we say can proficient? No, you cannot say can proficient. Anytime you use the word can in English language, the next word is usually going to be a verb. Usually is hardly will you see a sentence where you use the word can or will or would. Those are, they call them helping verbs or modal verbs. The next word after them, or maybe before them, will be a word, will be a verb. So you can't say proficient, and proficient is not a verb. Proficient is a noun. So I've done for China. Let me do for Romania. You guys, I want you to do for India. I want you to do for India and type inside the Zoom chat. Let me see who's going to get it right. I'm going to write for Romania and Thailand. I want you to write for India. Let me see who's going to get it right. That's going to be our second exercise. You must get this formula very well. So for Romania, I'm going to say that word. 42% of male students from Romania are proficient in a foreign language, while a greater fraction of what? 65%. Okay, sorry. Let me not complicate this thing. Let me just put a full stop here. For the green one, I'll just say that word. 65, about what? 65% of what? Female students from Romania are what? Proficient in a foreign language. XYZ formula. That's what I'm doing. I hope you guys are still with me. Let me know who's with me. If you are following me, let me see your message in the Zoom chat. If you are still with me, I want you to drop a message. Drop a message in the Zoom chat. Let me know if you are still following me. Let me know who is still with me. Let me know who is still with me. Let's see who is still following me. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can see your feedback. Please, if you have any question, feel free to ask your question. Feel free to ask your question so that I'm going to, address any concerns you have. And then I'm waiting for you guys to give me your answer for India. I've not seen any response yet. India, write 2 sentences like this. 2 separate sentences using the XYZ formula. Okay, let me write for Thailand. So this one is from 28. So that's halfway through. That's going to be 28 plus 3. That's 31. About 31% of female Thai, anybody from Thailand is called a Thai. Female Thai students, sorry, male, this one is male, color blue. About 31% of male Thai students are able to speak a foreign language while 27% of female Thai students are able to do the same. Or we can just say that word, compared to about 27% of female Thai students who are able, so I'm going to have to put who, if I want to put compared to about 27% of female Thai students who are able to do the same. XYZ formula. That's the formula I'm using. XYZ formula. So let me see what you guys have dropped for. Let me see. Have you guys dropped something? Who has dropped something for what's it called now? India. Let's see. India. Okay. Thank you very much. Let me post what this person wrote. Somebody has given us a very, very good answer here. I like this answer. The person used a very interesting vocabulary for us. So this is the person's response. Let me do it in color blue. So look at the person's response. About 56%, that's India. Male, yes, that's 56%. That's X. 56% of male students from India. No, you don't need to put N there. What is the difference between Indian with N and India without N? Who can tell me? It's just like Nigeria and Nigerian. If you travel to UK and then you are coming back to your country, you will not say, I'm going back to Nigerian. No, you will not say that. You will say you are going back to Nigeria, the country. Okay? So, male students from India, the country, okay, are eloquent. I like that. Eloquent is a good paraphrase for what? Proficient. Very good one. Are eloquent in a foreign language, while approximately 68% of female students in India, can you see this person repeated the thing again? So that shows that this is what is in that person's head. So please delete it though. It's not some people will say it's typo. This one is not typo. It has showed up twice. And that's how IELTS examiners mark. Whenever they see a particular mistake show up twice, they know that no, this one is not a typographical mistake. The mistake is from your knowledge base. Okay? So please, it's not India or female students from India. That's the country. Okay? Can speak a foreign language freely. Very good. This is a very good one. The person used the formula correctly. I like it. The formula was used correctly. So XYZ formula is a formula that you must learn to use in writing your word, in writing your report. If you can master that formula, 90%, let's not say 90%, maybe 70% of your work when it comes to reports, is dealt with. Okay, that is the easy formula. Now, that formula can be inverted, and then you use this word accounted for. Okay, so let me teach you that one now. Let me teach you that one now. Okay, and then we're going to look at another example. Okay, so I'm seeing one response here. Let me talk about this response. Okay, I'm going to say something about this response. This is a very, very interesting response. It's a very, very interesting response. Let's go to that line graph. I'm going to post the response for you guys. See the response. So this person here said that students in brackets, male and female from India demonstrated the highest proficiency in speaking a foreign language. So this person is basically writing something that is completely different from what we are talking about. This person, maybe this person just joined the class. Maybe the person who did not was not with us when we started. So this person just wrote something completely different from what we are teaching. There's a particular pattern of writing that we are teaching, and this person has not followed it. Okay, so that's the error with this first sentence. This second sentence too has error. You cannot start a sentence with. You cannot start a sentence with, except if that with is the beginning of a dependent clause, and that's not what I'm saying here. Ideally, what you should have is a comma should be here, and then this one should be small letter. Okay, that's what it should be. Now, with 56% for males, what does that mean? This is what we call awkward promax, awkward sentence promax. It's not clear. What's the meaning of 56% for males? What does that mean? 56% for males. How? What does that mean? It's not clear. Unclear. This is what we call unclear data codes. Do you understand? Unclear data codes. So if I want to rewrite this thing that this person wrote, so what this person is trying to do here basically is what? Is trying to do two things in a sentence. And he's not using that formula that I'm talking about. He's doing two things. He's not using the formula I'm talking about. Okay? So he's trying to do what we call category comparing sentence by saying highest proficiency. Then that's what he's trying to do, category comparing. But then highest proficiency is not even the word. Okay? So this is how this sentence should have been written. Let me just give a correction. Let me write it the way it should have been written. This is what the thing that this person is trying to do. Okay? Let me do it in the correct way for you. And then I'm going to go back to that, what's it called? To that formula. Where's okay? So this is the correction. Let me put it in color red. The country, sorry. The country with the largest or the greatest proportion of students. So let me just put India at the beginning. India stands out as the country with the greatest proportion of students that can speak a foreign language. So that's what the sentence should have sounded like. India stands out. India stands out as the country with the greatest proportion of what? Students that can speak a foreign language. I will now put a semicolon here. 56% of male students from this country are proficient. Are what? Okay, are proficient. Male students from this country are proficient in a foreign language in a foreign language are proficient This Zoom is messing up. Are proficient in a foreign language and 68% of females are also proficient, are also able to speak in a foreign language. So this is what this sentence should have sounded like. Although it's not in line with exactly what I'm teaching. It's not in line with the formula. Okay? So let's leave that alone. So let's go back to that stuff I was talking about earlier on. I was talking about inversion, the inverted formula, the inverted format of this XYZ formula. So instead of arranging your sentence as X, Y, Z, in other words, the percentage figure comes up first. After that, you now write the whole, the Y, the complete whole, and then you now write the parts. Instead of using that XYZ formula, you can invert the sentence. And then when you invert the sentence, you now introduce this word, accounted for. Okay, accounted for. So look at it here. Z accounted for X% of Y. Okay, Z accounted for what? X% of Y. Look at it here. Let's use that bar chart. Z accounted for what? X% of Y. Let me write that formula first. Z accounted for X% of Y. This one is actually more technical. So I'm just going to mention it and then I will leave it. If it's confusing, just stick to the first one, XYZ. That one is not too complicated. Now, if I want to do this for China, what I'm going to say is that word, I'm going to say that word, males. You know, remember that Z, XYZ. Z is the part. Okay? Male students from China. Okay? Accounted for what? 17%. 17% of individuals that what? So let me adjust something here. Male students from China that can speak. Hold on, I need to check something again here. I need to check something again here. Let me be sure. Let me be sure I'm using that formula correctly. So Z accounted for X% of Y, okay? Or Y is this formula is very, you see, what's it called? This inversion, look at what I wrote here. Inversion is sometimes easy to do, sometimes it's not easy to do. Look at the last thing. It's usually safer and less risky to use this basic straightforward formula. X% of Y is Z. It's very easy. But let me try this thing. Y's Z was X. Y, okay, Y's Z was X%. Let me see. That other one doesn't seem to be working. So look at it here. Let me just do this and then we'll move on. So for this particular question now, for China, Y represents what? Y is what? Male students that can speak a foreign language. That's Y. Then Z represents what? Z represents no, I've mixed it up. This one represents Y represents all the male students. Okay? All the male students. That's Y. And then Z represents the male students that can speak a foreign language. X represents the what? The percentage figure. Okay? So, what's it called now? If I want to use that inverted format, what I'm going to do is this. um, the percentage, the percentage of male students of Chinese male students that can speak a foreign language is what? 17%. This is like the inverted format of that what? Of that XYZ. But I prefer that basic simple one. X% of Y is Z. X% of Y is Z. That formula can help you, can make your work easy, to be honest. Let's look at another example, everybody. Look at this example here before we round up. So we are basically talking about sentence construction. Okay, I'm going to construct an entire report and then we are going to round it up. So let's look at this example here. Look at this example here, everybody. So here we have what? Immigration. This thing says the pie chart shows the main reason for immigration to and from the UK in 2007. So how do I write my sentence? Let's say I want to write a sentence for color green. I'm going to do 2, then I'll allow you to do. So you guys, are going to do for color blue. Color blue, 26% that is here. That's what you're going to do. I'm going to do for color green, and I'm going to do for color, this 6% here, this color, do we call this one sky blue now? You guys will do for navy blue. I'm going to do for sky blue. So let me do for color green. X% of Y is Z. That's the formula. Stick to that formula, please. Stick to that formula. But you know that, let me say something here. You see that all these things, formal study, definite job, you need to construct your sentence accurately. So I want you to follow, look at how I'm going to write it now, so that when you write you're not going to mix up the categories. Now look at it. X%, so that's going to be what? 30%. 30% of what? Individuals that immigration. What's the meaning of immigration? Immigration means they are coming into the UK. So 30% of individuals that what? Migrated into the United Kingdom, moved in. I don't want to say migrated. Okay? I will say moved in because they got a definite, or we can say specific job in the country. They moved in because they got a specific job in the country. X, see the X here, X% of what? Why is what? All the people that moved into the UK. These all charts, green plus yellow plus red plus navy blue plus purple plus sky blue, everything, all of them are the people that what? Moved into the UK. That's why X% of Y individuals that migrated into the UK. Okay? They moved in because they got a specific job. So you see the way I wrote that part of what? Definite job. Okay? Some people will see this and they will say that what? 30% of individuals that moved into the UK was definite job. What does that mean? That does not make any good English sense. So you need to understand what this thing means. That what? Some people moved in because they got a definite job. Some people moved in because they came for formal study. Some people moved in because they accompanied somebody or they came to join somebody. Some people moved in because they came to look for work. Some people moved in for no clear reason. They did not state any reason. They did not state their reason. No reason stated. And some people moved in for other reasons. So we can call this one other, or we can say other unspecified reasons, or for some other unspecified reasons. So I've done for 30%. So I've done for 30%. Let me do for 6% now. 6%. Look at it though. Look at how I'm going to write my sentence for 6%. 6% of individuals 6% of people, 6% of the people that migrated into the United Kingdom in 2009 migrated because, sorry, we can't say because, yeah. This thing says no reason stated. So you cannot say migrated because no reason was stated. That's not, that doesn't sound good. Okay? They migrated. So I'm going to remove this migrated word. 6% of people that migrated into the UK, into the United Kingdom in 2009 had no specific reason for migrating. Can you see that? Sentence construction. So it's not like you are taking the word, it's not all the time that you take the words on the charts like that and use it, put it inside your sentence just like that. You need to do some accurate paraphrasing so that idea, the idea that is conveyed on the charts is also conveyed in your sentence. What is the idea conveyed in your sentence? They did not state reasons for moving. All these other people stated reasons. Some people stated that their reason was for what? Formal study. They came to study in the university, master's or PhD or something. Some people accompanied somebody or they came to join some, maybe their spouse or something. But there is a category that they did not state their reason. So how do you write that? They had no specific reason. Or you can say that what? 6% of people that migrated into the United Kingdom in 2009 did not give any specific reason or did not state their reasons for migrating. Ladies and gentlemen, color blue, 26, navy blue. I want you guys to do a sentence for this navy blue part. I want you to do a sentence for this navy blue part. I want you to do a sentence for that. Okay, I'm waiting. So after that, I will now write a full report using this XYZ formula. Okay, so I'm waiting. Who has finished for this color blue, 26%? Anybody? Just post your answer inside the Zoom chat. Who has finished? Okay. Thank you very much. Let me copy this out. Thank you very much for that. So somebody says this is their own answer. Let me paste it here in color blue. 26% of what? Migrants. 26% of migrants moved to the United Kingdom in the year 2007 for what? For the purpose of formal study. Thank you. 2000, it's actually 2007. I wrote 2009 in my own. Thank you. So then what's it called? X% of what? Of Y. Can you see that? Migrants. Migrants. Can you see paraphrasing? I like that. Very good paraphrasing. Moved to the United Kingdom for the what? For the purpose of formal study. Very good. Very, very accurate. Very, very accurate. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, our sentences must be what? Must be accurately constructed. Okay? Must be what? Accurately constructed. Very, very important. So what I'm going to do now, to round up, I'm going to write a report. I'm going to use, let me use this here to write a full report. Which one should I use now? I want to use one that involves percentages. I want to use one that involves percentages. Let me write a report based on this table. Let me write a report based on this table. We are going to go to, we'll move to another, let me move to another screen so that the stuff will show very well. So this is our, let me copy the question, copy the question and come and paste here. All right. So this is our question, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So again, what do we start with? We start with the introduction. We start with the word. We start with the introduction. We start with the introduction. After the introduction, we write our word. We write our overview. So here is my, let me start with my introduction here. The tables present. So instead of saying gives, I will say present. Okay? Details about the word distribution. Let me make this thing bigger. The tables. So the tables present details about the distribution. So instead of saying distribution of the world population, I'm going to do some paraphrasing there, and I'm going to remove this THE about global population distribution in 1950, 2000, in 1950, let me put it this way, and in 2000. It also gives forecasts for the year 2050. Okay? Now, I'm going to adjust something in this, my first sentence. Okay? Look at it here. We have world population here in billions. Billions. And then we have population, distribution of the world population by region. So I'm going to add this thing, this title here to the first sentence. Okay? I'll say that word. The tables present details about global population. Okay? About global population distribution and the proportion of the world's population and the proportion of this population, let's use the word this, in how many regions? 6 different regions. Can you see that? So I've added this second part. So let's read it again to be sure that it makes sense. It conveys sensible information. The tables present details about global population distribution and the proportion of this, so remove THE, and the proportion of this population, okay? I need to remove this distribution here. About global population, population. So I'm going to put another word here. Global population size. That's global population size is a paraphrase for what? The world's total population. So I can say the table presents details about the world's total population, or I can say about global population size and the proportion of this population in 6 different regions in 1950 and in 2000. It also gives forecasts forward for the year 2050. So my next sentence is a sentence that would mention the categories, okay? The regions Africa. So Africa is a proper noun, so I'll write capital A. Africa, Asia. Let me adjust this my um, screen. Okay, looks better this way. The regions are Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, North America, and Oceania. Okay? Europe. Okay? So that is that for what? My introduction. Next one is my overview. That is the next part I will write. Overall, global population, let me not say global population again. The world's total population has increased and it is expected to increase further by the year by increase further by 2050. Also, the proportion of the world's population that lives in Africa has increased. Asia, let me make this thing bigger so that you guys will see what I'm saying. So whenever you see your graph, you want to know which categories increased, which categories reduced, which categories fluctuated. So you can see Africa has increased 9, 13, 20. Asia 56, 60, 59. Asia fluctuated. Europe has reduced. Latin America, we can say it has increased. So add Latin America. Latin America. North America has reduced. Oceania has remained constant. So this is our overview. Also, the proportion of the world's population that lives in Africa and Latin America, has increased, while the fraction reported for what? Europe, Europe and North America as what? Reduced. In fact, let me add Asia to this list. Asia. Because in terms of tenses, if we are looking at it from 1950 to 2000. I've not talked about 2050 yet. So that's what this sentence is about. Also, the proportion of the world's population that lives in Africa. So let me use past tense since I'm talking from 1950 to 2000. That lived, also the proportion of the world's population that lived in Africa, Africa increased, Asia increased, Europe reduced, Latin America increased, North America reduced, okay? And Oceania, we can say Oceania increased because this says less than 1%, but then it increased to 1%. So let's put Oceania on this list too. That lived in Oceania. Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Oceania. So look at the sentence. Also, the proportion of the world's population that lived in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and Oceania increased, while the fractions reported, this one should be plural since we have 2 continents, while the fractions reported for Europe and North America reduced. I will not say as reduced because I'm looking at 1950 to 2000. Those two dates are in the past. We don't have a current date there, so we cannot say as reduced. Okay? Then the final part of my overview is where I talk about 1950 for the regions. You can see that the overview is very long. The overview is very long. So here is my overview. So I'll say that the final part is that what? While the figures, while the figure for Africa, sorry, let me not say figure, while the 2050 estimates for Africa is expected to increase further. Can you see that? While the 2050 estimate, that thing they say estimate, you can see estimate here. So all the things here, they represent what? Estimate. While the 2050 estimate for Africa is expected to increase further, or let's rephrase it, let's put it this way. While Africa's, what's it called? While Africa's proportion of the world's population is expected to rise further in 2050, that the figures for Asia, Europe, and North America will reduce, and those and that of, let me say, and the figures and the fractions for what? For Latin America and Oceania will remain constant. Will remain constant or remain unchanged. Will remain unchanged. That's my word, overview. And then what's the next part? The next part is my word, is the main body of my report. So look at the main body now, ladies and gentlemen. Let's write the main body now. So for the main body, what do I do? I'm going to follow the pattern that I used here. I will start with what? This first part. I'm going to write about it. So what do I write? I'll say that word. In 1950, the world's, let me reduce the size of this thing. In 1950, the world's total population was about 2.5 billion. It rose to what? It rose to 6 billion, 6.0 billion. In what? 2000. And by 2050, it is estimated that about 9.0 billion human beings will be living on planet Earth. That's it. I've described this first table. Okay? 9%. Remember our formula, ladies and gentlemen. X% of Y is Z. So let me do a transition here to show that I'm moving to the next table. Okay? Regarding the distribution of the world's population in the different continents. Africa, sorry, let me see. Not Africa. Who had the largest figure in 1950? Asia. Asia had the largest fraction of what? 56%. In what? In 1950. Okay? So I'm starting that way. It's a little bit different. I've not used the formula. Now, I'll now finish up. So I'm talking about Asia now. Let me see. This is Asia here. Let me check something here. I want to make sure I demonstrate good cohesion. So this thing says that what the proportion of the world's population that lived in Africa. Okay, let me remove this thing. Let me just let me follow what I did here. The ones that increased. Okay, so regarding the distribution of the world's population in the different continents over the period, Africa's population, let's put it this way, 9% of Africa's population, oh sorry, 9% of the world's lived in Africa. And this figure increased to 13% in what? 2000. 9% of the world's population lived in Africa in 1950. And this figure increased to what? 13% in 2000. Okay? Estimates for 2050 indicates that the proportion will rise further to what? To 20%. Okay? The proportion of the world's population that lived in Asia also increased. In 1950, Asia had the majority of people, had the largest proportion, that's going to be the word, had the largest figure of what? 56%. And it rose to what? 60% after how many years? After, I think that's 50 years. 50 years. A slight reduction is expected to occur in 2050 when Asia will account for about what? 59% of global human population. Can you see that? I think I mentioned this issue of accounted for. Asia will account for, I talked about it earlier on when I was talking about inversion. Okay, but I did not really have much time to talk about it. So let's just finish this up because of our time. So the next one is going to be which one increased again? So Africa increased, Asia increased. Which other continent increased? That's going to be Latin America. Yeah, Latin America and Oceania. So Latin America, the proportion of the world's population that lived in Latin America was 6% in 1950, and it rose towards 9% after 50 years. It will, however, maintain this same figure of 9% by what? 2050. Oceania ranks at the bottom in terms of its fraction of the world's population. In terms of its fraction of the world's total population. Less than 1% of people worldwide lived in the region in 1950, but it increased to what? It increased to 1% in 2000. And this same 1% will be reported in 2050. So I've talked about the categories that what? Increased between 1950 and 2000. That's what I used to construct this second paragraph. And then finally, we have the last part is for the ones that what? For the ones that reduced. In contrast, the population or the proportion of global population in Europe and North America has declined, while Europe's figure, look at the bottom here. This is where the stuff continues. While Europe's figure reduced from 22% in 1950 to what? To 12% in 2000. That of North America dropped, or let's just say reduced, something more formal. That of North America reduced from what? 7% to what? 5%. Europe's fraction of the world's total population is expected to reduce further to what? 7%. So let me add by 2050. By 2050, Europe's fraction of the world's total population is expected to reduce further to 7%, and that of North America will reduce to what? To 4%. Full stop. That is all for this table report. Can you say table question? Table report, academic task 1 report. So you see, introduction. After the introduction, what do we have? The main body, the overview. And after the overview, we have our what? Our main body. This report is very long, 380 something words. It's very long. Somebody says, I hope they will not penalize you for writing 380 something words. No, they will not. You can only be penalized if you write less than 150 words. Less than 150 words. So, ladies and gentlemen, so please keep that formula in mind. It's going to help a lot whenever you write reports. Okay? X% of Y is Z. You can apply it to, almost every kind of report that involves percentages. Remember, it's basically used for reports that involve percentages. Okay? Basically used for reports that involve percentages. Look at it here. You can see it here. 9% of the world's population. X% of what? Y of the I did not put THE. 9% of the world's population lived in Africa. Can you see that? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap it up on that note. For tonight, I'm going to share, I will post this thing in the group, and then I'll probably, I will drop some exercises for you on line graphs and maybe bar charts. Okay? So if you have any question, feel free to drop your question in the Zoom, in the WhatsApp group. Drop your question in the WhatsApp group. I'm going to attend to it as soon as I can. So thank you very much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening.